Samsung Galaxy S24 versus the iPhone 15. I want to give my mid 2024 update. This is around 6 months since purchasing the Galaxy S24 and what I think about it versus the iPhone 15. Right, so from a price perspective, they both retail at about the same $799. The iPhone's a little more if you're not upgrading with a carrier, like you're buying it unlocked. But the S24 has a lot of different carriers that sell this at a discount. Samsung throws in discounts, their sales a lot of the time. So I would say generally you're getting the S24 for less money than the base model iPhone 15. The iPhone 15 can be found on certain deals. It's usually if you buy a phone, you get a certain deal or something like that. But it's not usually as discounted as the Galaxy phone is over here. And with that being said, you do get some pretty nice specs. To give you a refresh, a 6.1 inch 120 hertz dynamic AMOLED display. This is a 1080p panel, but on this size at a 6.2 inch, it really doesn't make a massive difference. A 50 megapixel triple camera, not each lens is 50 megapixels, but the main sensor is. Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and this does have 8 or 12 gigs of RAM, depending on the storage model that you go with. 4,000 milliamp hour battery in here. So a pretty nice set of specs here for the S24. Now, a quick refresh to the iPhone specs. We are looking at a 6.1 inch AMOLED display here. This does have a pretty nice resolution of 2556 by 1179 and a 48 megapixel dual camera. The second lens is like a 12 megapixel. This does have the capabilities of going to 4K at 60. That one has 8K capabilities. And this does have 6 gigs of RAM with an Apple A16 Bionic, 3349 milliamp hour battery here, so a lot smaller than the S24. All right, so which one have I enjoyed more over the past 6 months when it comes to the body of these phones? Well, personally, I'm going to say I've enjoyed the 15 more. Let me tell you why. Mostly because they've smoothed out the corners here. It feels very nice in the hand, and the rounded edges here just feel smoother to hold than the S24. Also, I actually prefer the 6.1 inch size to the 6.2 over here. That extra 0.1 inch makes this even harder to reach the top on the S24. Also, while the S24 is a comfortable phone and it has curved corners as well, they're not quite as smooth. They're a little sharper than the iPhone 15. So if I had to pick one in terms of ergonomics, in terms of the smooth feel in the hand, I actually prefer the 15. I actually preferred the S23 to the S24 in the way it felt in the hand. It felt lighter, more compact than the S24, although this is a pretty compact phone still for, you know, what it is. The iPhone 15 to me is just a more comfortable to hold phone. In terms of the premium feel though, they're both about even, with the Samsung feeling nice and smooth, as does the iPhone. I do prefer the look though of the S24 with its cameras here. I think they look nicer. I also think the screen looks better with the punch hole over here with Dynamic Island. While you are able to see this as an iPhone, I like the reduction in bezels here from before, but I feel like the ones on the Samsung look about the same, if not maybe slightly thinner. Overall, aesthetically, they're both very pretty phones. It's just I prefer the feel in the hand of the 15, mostly due to the smoother corners and the lighter and smaller screen. All right, so which display is better here? After 6 months, I got to tell you, the Samsung has a better display when it comes to the anti-reflection. It's very, very good. They actually added the vivid slider as well, so if you were having an issue with their more natural tone, that's improved. It also has a higher, like a better PWM flicker rate as well now than the iPhone 15 at 492 hertz. So this one is actually better for the flickering issues that they used to have. And if you notice, you don't see those lines anymore in my videos. That's because the PWM was improved on all the S24 series. But the Samsung has one little issue that some people might not like. And it's mostly probably due to the anti-reflective properties of the screen and Samsung really pulling back on the saturation. It doesn't have that very punchy, vibrant, like you see this in the store. It looks way more colorful than the iPhone. It doesn't have that anymore. And for some people, that's a problem. But personally, it's not a problem to me. And the 1080 is fine at this size. It's still a very punchy display. It's just not as saturated as before. It's very sharp and it's very good on the eye. So I think I'll take the better eye comfort and the more natural look for, you know, better eye health than the previous one. But if you're really into consuming media and you like the super vibrant, saturated look, honestly, last year's S23 is going to be a better option than that. Now, believe it or not, the iPhone, while toned down, it's not a super vivid, saturated look. It looks slightly more contrast to me, maybe a little bit more accurate contrast than the Samsung over there. I could be wrong when we're doing the actual display technical specs and facts, but to my eye, the Samsung has like this very off like color when you put on the high vivid sliders, and when you put it natural, it's very toned down. So I think Apple's balance of the colors and the screen accuracy, it's probably a little more pleasing this year. But this reflective screen, I mean, I have a screen protector, which makes it more reflective, so it's not a great example here in this video. But even with this off, it's just a way more reflective screen than the Samsung this year. So Samsung is winning there. And I also found myself to have just a little bit better eye comfort on that Samsung. Not that this is bad. This actually has a slightly higher pixels per inch, so 461 versus 416, and a ceramic shield glass. But this doesn't have always on display. You have the always on display feature over here for the Samsung. Now, 6 months later, in the area of software, one thing I just have to say is that if you want to buy the Samsung phone, you're just getting more features for the money, hands down. You're getting Samsung Dex. You're getting the Galaxy Store and the Play Store. You're getting customization that far exceeds even iOS 18 over here and what is capable of this phone. Also, you get an ecosystem with the Galaxy Buds, the Galaxy Tablet, the Galaxy Books. If you want to get into the ecosystem, you can do that as well. So it's not like that's the only strong suit for Apple anymore. But the controls are very nice, easy to use. The phone has cleaned up over before, and then you could just play around with the advanced features. All in all, with the labs and everything, split screen modes, which are still not available. I think I turned those off. Let me put on edge panels. Put on edge panels here, and then you'll see right here, split screen, pop view. This phone is just simply fun to use. And because it has so much power with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, you can run all of this easily. And when you throw this up on a DeX monitor, all these apps are really smooth. Or even a portable monitor. It's all really smooth going through that USB-C down there. It also has a SIM card tray, something the iPhone doesn't have. So I would say generally the software on here, way more capable and more fun to use day to day than the iPhone. However, the iPhone is tried and true. The software here has even gotten better with the iOS 18. Now with the dark colored icons, we have a lot more updates to come. We'll have AI features coming soon. I didn't even cover the AI over here. Galaxy AI, I can't believe I missed that one. I guess I'm just not thinking too much about it yet, just simply because I feel like it might be, at this point, it might be a little bit gimmicky, meaning not everybody's going to use this stuff, but the advanced intelligence, while it's not going to be free after 2025, it's pretty useful right now in certain circumstances. But the iOS over here is going to be getting that advanced intelligence. It's got the nice cleaned up passwords application, customizable widgets, which are pretty cool here. A couple new wallpapers. I mean, there's iOS at its core is still saying pretty similar, but at least you have the ability to move your apps wherever you want right now. And of course, we have a lot more to discuss in the future, but we're in the beta infancy stages right now for iOS. What I got to say though is 6 months later, generally speaking, the iPhone has just been kind of more simple to use, tried and true. There's not a lot going on. There's no split screen on here. It's just really polished, good to use applications. And that works. It really does work. It works for a lot of people and great software updates. I find these software updates come in a lot faster for the iPhone 15 over there. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And we didn't really cover performance too much in depth, but the A16 Bionic, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, the real issue here is not really the A16, it's the lack of RAM. 6 gigs of RAM on here means that this can't hold as many apps, it can't do as much background processes. This one over here with its 8 gigs of RAM, if you want 12, go to the S24 Plus. It's more like a 15 Pro. So this is definitely, it was a good choice for Samsung to go 8 gigs of RAM. They've been doing that a while, but now with the upcoming AI stuff, it's really going to show that they're ahead of something like the base iPhone 15. But performance-wise, the Samsung feels snappier with its animations. The iOS animations are just feeling slow right now. They just look a lot slower. Samsung's animations, while not always as smooth, not always as polished, they are getting much better and they just look snappier. So I would say generally scrolling through the phone day to day, the Samsung feels like a snappier phone, whereas the iPhone feels maybe like a more polished, refined phone, but slower with the animation. This one though, not really though, because with the 60 hertz, I think all around the performance just feels snappier and smoother on the S24. I also didn't mention that 60 hertz over here is definitely a con with the display. I did talk about its pixels per inch, but I didn't touch on that. I just wanted to mention that before this video ends. The 60 hertz is kind of like long in the tooth at this point. A lot of people who are using this phone though, basic users or people who are just not caring about paying a top dollar for a phone, you don't really notice it honestly after using it a couple days. But I just say this a lot in my videos, not because I don't understand that the majority of the buyers don't really care. It's because I just think that, with the whole entire market basically going to 120 hertz or 90 hertz, I don't think Apple should get a pass. I think they should put it on the base models. Like every other manufacturer is doing this. Why do you get a pass? So that's why I keep bringing it up. It's not because it's a major con or a problem, but that's why I bring it up. Now, 6 months later, when it comes to the cameras, I have almost the same exact opinion on this one as I do the S24 Ultra and the 15 Pro Max. Much more versatile for the Samsung Galaxy S24, capable of zooming up to 30x with a more natural looking photo. Some say it's soft looking. To me, it's toned down. The overall look of the skin tones as well can be a little bit off as well. I find the Pixel to be the best in that area. Pro modes, expert raw, the versatility of a pro video mode as well. Man, you can go to town with any of the S24s. Really nice that they throw that software in there, even on their basic models. They're not basic, but they're lower end S model. They didn't have to put all this, but they do, which is nice. Going to over here, you can see different aspect ratios. And generally speaking, I just find that using this after the past 6 months, I really like its overall versatility. I feel like I got a pocket beast here of a camera in my pocket with the S24. I felt the same about the S23. Just carries over here. Nice size here. Again, a little bit longer with the 6.2, but having all this camera power in a small package is really, really awesome for this phone right here. Now, what about the iPhone 13? Because it got some upgrades that were really nice 9 months ago. It was a little bit more zoom. Very important feature upgrade to go to 10x, but still getting crushed by the S24. Also, we have an ultra wide zoom here and very good video performance as well. While it can't go 8K, it can't do pro video, its actual performance and focus is spot on. It looks amazing from this phone. So very strong. Of course, though, if you're going to be doing 4K, you're going to need a little bit more storage space on your iPhone. So do keep that in mind. There is a con of that. You do need a little more storage space if you want to do video. But generally, the front-facing camera matches up incredibly well with the rear, but it still looks pretty similar to like the iPhone. What was the one before this? The 14. It looks similar to the 13. I mean, these camera photos on the front haven't changed massively because they haven't really changed the resolution too much of that front camera. So overall, I got to say, and that wire was blocking me. Overall, I got to say that the camera on the front, really good. Matches up good with the rear. A lot more, I would say, better looking for the selfies, though, in terms of the colors on here. But there's one issue I have with the selfies on here. For some reason, it like picks up every pore in my face. This one does a little better at smoothing the things out, but some people think that's an unnatural look. So overall, more versatility on the Samsung camera. User preference for maybe social media, and maybe certain aspects of the iPhone camera will make it win out. They're basically neck and neck though. It just really comes down to user preference and how those photos look. One area I want to touch on for the S24 though is better storage for the money. Usually you get a better price for more storage on the Samsung. Just wanted to make that point clear 6 months later. I feel like you're just paying too much for the iPhone 15, especially now that it's not getting Apple Intelligence later this year. Yeah, the Galaxy AI on the base model is going to be a little bit of a enhancement over this phone. And you got to pay more for more storage. You can get a 15 with a 60 hertz display. If you get a high storage capacity with tax, depending on your area, you could be paying near or even north of $1,000 for this phone. So that's kind of ridiculous if you ask me, for what you're getting with the iPhone 15. I think it's like the 512 gig. That's the one that I'm talking about right there. For this, there's sometimes deals where you can get the 512 gig for the same price as like the 256 gig. So yeah, the Samsung usually throwing some deals, certain times, some carriers do it as well. Usually get more storage for less money on that Samsung. Battery life on both these phones has been really good. Even though the Samsung though has a larger battery, I find the iPhone to last a little bit longer than this Samsung phone. Especially this base model, even though this has a smaller battery, it just lasts a little bit better. Also has a little bit better standby than the Samsung, but the Samsung is no chump either. This thing can make it a day. Both of these to me are medium user phones, like medium use. Like these are not heavy all day warrior phones. Like go to the big boys, go to the larger phones if you want that aspect of a battery life. Both of them charge pretty quick, but the Samsung can do it a little faster, and they both have wireless charging, but the Samsung has reverse wireless charging to help charge other devices. So I would say the charging area better on the Samsung. 6 months later though, I just noticed it just charges a little quicker than my iPhone, and the battery though definitely drains a little quicker as well. I find on the Samsung S24, not the Ultra line, the Plus line, those are crazy long, but these base models, they're not like the most amazing batteries I've seen though. Now we're looking at audio. The iPhone actually topped out the S24 by about a decibel in my testing, so definitely slightly louder, but it was like 1 decibel. So these are basically neck and neck in the area of audio. One area they're not neck and neck though is the area of phone call quality. So I found that I get more bar strength, especially in weird areas like underground or these areas in the house where you don't get great signal. The Samsung did slightly better here. Although you have the emergency SOS features on the iPhone, so that's a benefit for this device. This is not a Pixel Android, so you don't get that here. But definitely both have great connectivity. The iPhone is much better than it used to be. It holds on the signal string much better than before with Qualcomm modems in here and stuff like that. So yeah, generally speaking, these two have really, really good connectivity, with the Samsung, I think, slightly edging it. I also found the 5G performance to be slightly quicker on my Samsung S24. What did I find the cons of the S24? Well, there's not too many. I would say the cameras, I wish they were more high end, like closer to the S24 Ultra. The overall corners are a little bit sharp. I don't really think this 6.2 inch screen size is super comfortable like the S23, but some people always want a bigger screen, so they might like this. The display, I think they can do better with the accuracy. They really, one extreme before, it was way too saturated, I feel like. Then they went way too natural. They did add the vivid mode, but I do think Samsung's gonna address this and make a much better display for the S25. This is not a bad display. It just doesn't look like your typical Samsung. Battery life could be better on the S24 as well. It's not the most best in the world. I wish we had a little bit sharper resolution too, like the 2K screen on here as well. But there's not too many cons. I really have to nitpick for them. Yeah, I really do. There is a SIM card tray. No expandable storage, though. I would like that, but that's not coming back for phones. Let's be real. I'm talking like it's 5 years ago with that. Cons of the 15, they're pretty apparent. No 120 hertz. That's obvious. No Apple Intelligence coming. That's a new one, but that's pretty obvious as well. The cameras, they're good, but they don't have that extra zoom. So if you really love that extra zoom, this only goes 10x. It doesn't go 25, 30 like the 15 Pro Max. Other than that, it's a pretty solid device. It's really comfortable to hold. It looks great. It's useful. It's a nice upgrade from like the 12 to 13. You probably would really, really enjoy this. Still has the classic silent switch, no action button if you wanted that. Very fast processor, but a lack of RAM is another con. At the end of the day, discussing which one you ultimately should choose after I've used these 6 months, I got to tell you, if I can only pick one, I think it would be the Samsung S24 in this comparison. I just think it's a better value for money. If you want better resale though, the iPhone is always going to be a better option. But if you're planning to use the heck out of your phone, keep it a long time, and you're not tied to any specific ecosystem, you're willing to just try any, I think the Samsung is better bang for your dollar here this year with these base models. I can't say the same for every model, but for these base models, this is probably the better bang for the buck. The iPhone is the bigger upgrade, the one that had bigger changes year over year, but Samsung I feel like was already ahead in that area. So what I mean is, coming from the 13, the 14 to this had bigger changes than like the S23 to the S24. But Apple had to catch up to begin with, I feel like, in some departments. So yeah, base model iPhone, I feel like needs some upgrades. It needs more RAM. It needs 120 hertz. It needs some upgrades to make it like a really, really compelling option. But it's still really, really nice. So that's my take on these 6 months later. If you found this video helpful, entertaining, informative, click the like button for me. Let me know which one you would pick. And if you picked both, or you picked up one, or you traded the other one for the other one, share your experiences. A lot of people are still looking for these devices, and it could help them out, whether it's now, whether it's after the event that comes, the iPhone event, and they want to just check this video out for just they're doing their research. Your comments really do contribute. So drop those down below. I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.